Now I can see. Okay. Well, Jen, I really don't have an agenda here. All I have is the budget itself, but I can wing it.
Yes, sir. The only thing on there is review the proposed budget.
Okay. All right. Let's open with the prayer and then we'll go from there. Most gracious God, again, as we come now to discuss the budget of the state of High Springs, again, we just ask you to lead us and guide us and bless us with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that we can do the best for the city of High Springs, God, that we can have a balanced budget, that we can operate to serve the people of High Springs. In your sweet holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag, which is stand,
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call, Jenny.
Okay, Mayor Williams,
Right here.
Vice Mayor James, Commissioner Jameson,
Here.
Commissioner Jones. Here. And Commissioner Levin is absent.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right. At this time, I entertain a motion for the approval of agenda. I guess I should have did it early, but we're fine.
Well, you don't have to on the workshop because you don't make motions or anything on a
Okay.
workshop.
All right, then. It's on you, Jennifer.
So I'd like to start, if it's okay, with the CRA, since we've not discussed that in any of the prior workshops.
What pages? What pages? That?
It was sent to you by email.
Uh-oh. We didn't understand you.
You can't hear.
78
78. She's breaking up.
or 77.
She froze. Jennifer froze.
Oh, there she
There
is.
she is.
Okay.
Can you see now?
Try it again.
She gone. Jennifer's gone.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
I hear you now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here. So with the CRA, David and I worked on it. We worked with the county. What we have in there as far as the operating, they are at 50, we are at 50% of our revenue. And what they count in revenue is what we put in, what the county puts in, the money we get for rent, and the money we get for interest. On page 79, under operating, we do not have to count the property and liability insurance as part of the 50%. So that's 3,010 that we can take off. So in earlier workshops, we had projected that we would transfer 34,000 and some change, which is what is in the study. That's what the expectation was, because excuse me, because of the 50% thing, we had to reduce it down, so we only would do a transfer of the 27,365. In the capital outlay, David, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, ma'am.
get scrolled up here, get on my right page. The capital outlays, I've been here a month now, so I'm going to ease into my first year and keep things very simple. I know the previous directors have had grand ideas, but I'm going to do things very small. We're looking at the lighting and landscaping downtown, I believe is an immediate concern. And that's one of those projects that I can tackle and get accomplished by the end of the fiscal year. Also looking at some other projects, smaller projects, working on to get some other tourism things here. If you look down also, one of the bigger items you will see is a vehicle. I feel this is a need for the department to help me do my job. I can't do my job sitting behind a desk at all times. I need to be able to get out, to go meet people, go visit businesses, to go to Gainesville, do the different meetings I need to do. The other expense is a mower. Currently, CRA is using one of Public Works mowers, and David Benton now has a staff and the need to use all of his mowers. So we have a need, CRA has a need for a mower of our own.
And these items are not part of the 50%. They are considered capital outlay or grant money. So we don't have to include them in that 50%. And we got clarification from that in writing from the county.
David and I talked briefly the other day. He updated me on some of the CRA information. I did have a question on the vehicle. I guess we've not had a vehicle in CRA before. Basically, you'll go back and forth to work there, but will be occasions where you have to go to Gainesville, but you would charge mileage for that.
Yes, ma'am, I could potentially use my truck. A department truck would also allow my staff person or staff people as we grow to use it also to get mulch, to do various things around town that they're having to use a smaller Ranger to do right now. So it's more than just for me at this time. It is for the whole department, and there's more than just me in this department.
Okay. Any?
Commissioner Jones, to your question, we did pay Christina mileage, and Jenny, correct me if I'm wrong, it was pretty high, like $400, $500, $600 a month. It was because she was doing a lot of traveling, and then so it was quite, because we got a big bill where she back charged us all for it. So it was so in looking at it, we felt that it would be cost effective. And as David said, it's not just going to be for driving to work. He is going to Gainesville a lot and meeting with staff there and going to Alachua and all of that. So I think it's cost effective to go ahead and to purchase one.
We were paying Christina $400 or $500 a month in mileage
For her travel, but I mean, she was going to Tallahassee and all different places. Whatever she turned in for mileage, but she didn't turn it into the very end.
I know, and that was another issue. It was a huge
Yes.
expense sheet, but it just seemed, I just didn't realize we were paying her. I guess because she didn't turn in an expense sheet, we didn't realize that. That is a lot of money for mileage.
When you say mileage, you're talking about gas?
It's the state of Florida's reimbursement. I think it's 44 cents a mile right now. I think that's what Florida statute is.
So when you compare And in this case here, if you got a car, David gets a car, he goes and fills it up. You still have proportion. I don't know what to do. You still have within the car, you still have gas bills that are going to be going to the city in addition. Because when he goes and fills up, that bill is going to be paid by the city, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there will be no 45 cents or so forth. It'll be just the cost of the gas. So, I mean, you do have, and this is the deal, and I'm not going either way on this right now. I'm just talking. When you're talking $400 or $500, I'm assuming you'll probably have $200 in gas. So the difference won't be the full $400 a month, because you're still got to factor in gas for David using the truck. So I'm just saying, when we compare, I want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples type of thing, that we're not sitting here going, he drives his own car, it's $400 to $500, and basically that goes away. Well, it doesn't go away. We still have the gas, we still have the maintenance and so forth on the truck.
And I totally agree with you there, but I think what's the difference here is that David is going to be a little bit more involved. Currently, they have to borrow a vehicle from Public Works to move the lawnmower, to move this, to move, and they just don't have it. They need, Public Works needs theirs. So I think that's kind of part of the reason why we're looking at it, because it is that we've been using Public Works for so long.
Right. I'm not at this point in time talking against it. I'm just saying, when we start factoring in, I don't think we can sit here and say, I just want to make sure we're not sitting there going, well, we're going to save $500 a month or $400 a month on doing. Right. That's all I'm trying to say. We're not going to save that total amount. Now, I have an older copy here. I don't have the newer one. Can you tell me what the car, what is in there, the car and the mower, what the costs are, please?
It's $42,000.
And what's the mower?
I'm sorry, that was both of them together. So the vehicle is 30 and the mower is 12.
Why didn't he just drive the mower everywhere? Because at that amount of money, I mean, we could just combine them all together, put a top over it, and just drive the mower at that cost. I got to get a little sarcasm at some point, folks. I've been behaving myself lately.
Forgive me, I'm new to all this, but the other concern that I had was, if I was primarily in an office every day and drove once a month to Tallahassee for a meeting, or once a week to Gainesville for a meeting, I would not mind doing mileage on my vehicle. But my driving, getting out is a daily task for me. So that, I would prefer to have, for the staff and myself, a vehicle that we can share.
I would fully understand that, and I agree, because your car is going to depreciate a heck of a lot faster when you start putting the miles on it. I totally agree. Explain to me $12,000 for a lawnmower.
Commercial grade mowers, such as the ones that the city currently owns, the 60-inch Graveleys that got the larger, more industrial decks that made from the thicker metal, the larger horsepower engines, more commercial engines. They've got the dual fuel tanks on them versus a single smaller tank. They state contract price approximately 2 years ago, I believe, when the city had to purchase several, was approximately, I believe, $9,000 to $10,000 a piece. I would prefer to get the similar type mower. That way the city has similar, we all have the same mowers, easier for maintenance and parts and that type of thing.
What about so how much area do you have to mow? And where are the specific areas you have to mow? And there's a reason for the question.
Yes, the mowing, right now we currently mow from the railroad CSX property from Northwest 234th Street, basically the farmer's market. We mow down to the brewery. Main Street gets mowed from the red light at Chevron Station to a block north of the feed store. Highway 27 gets mowed from a block west of the fire station all the way down to the First Avenue Center. We also mow around City Hall, James Paul Park, and there's a retention pond behind Ace Hardware. At 237th Street and 184th Avenue, there's a small island right there that we also responsible for. It's quite a large area spread out.
So basically you're doing the CRA district.
Yes,
How are you gonna get the lawnmower to the sites?
at this time, Mr. Emerson, when he was here, he would drive it from the yard around.
I rest my case.
There are times when, just, there are times when David Benton has had to use his truck to go get mulch for the CRA department twice a year.
I think the only thing I'm sorry, Dave, the only thing I was asking, is there an opportunity where you're gonna need a trailer?
Oh, yes.
Or is that going to be something you're gonna have to pursue, or is this something we have and you can negotiate? I don't want you to have a mower and all of a sudden you can't get it to the place.
There are trailers available. I could look at a trailer, yes, but he has been able to drive at this time.
Okay, I just don't want us to have it and it's more burdensome to get the mower to the site than it is to actually mow, that's all.
Yes.
So you're looking at a truck, David. That's what I'm hearing.
Excuse me?
You're looking for a truck.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I think it's needed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to put mileage on my car, especially going to God blessed Tallahassee with the Knolls are. There ain't a chance I'd drive my car there.
Yeah. And not only that, he spent his gas, his maintenance on his truck.
Right, so I mean, that's not, I don't think that's fair. So I mean, and I think in today's market, I mean, I think that's probably a fairly decent price. We can spend it. We can spend this money. I know you asked on this. Gainesville ain't gonna come back at us and say that you improperly spent the money.
We have an email in writing that says that that it's capital outlay or grant. It is not admin.
Okay. I'm okay with it in that regard. I just,
Oh,
as long as they're not gonna come back and get it and we have that documentation, I'm okay with it, because I do think it's unfair to ask somebody to use their car to drive all over town.
Hmm. Yes. Okay. Anything else, David? And
Thank you.
and on the mower part, it's smarter to go by the commercial more than the little residential mower. I'm speaking from experience. You can wear one of them residential mowers out in no time, but a commercial mower, alas, it's worth its money. I'm speaking from experience. It's worth the money.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask just one last question. David, I'm assuming that the truck is going to be parked on city property and you will use your car to come and go. And when you get on the job, then you'll use the truck?
Yes, sir. I'm not an on-call person or
Right, that's what I'm saying.
emergency services, so I don't need to take the truck home.
So it'll stay, okay. Just
Yes,
wanted
sir.
to clarify. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is that it for CRA, Jennifer?
yeah, unless anybody has any other questions.
Not me.
Okay.
Sounds
so-
good.
Okay. So at the last meeting, we talked about the additional revenue based on what the state of Florida gave us for estimates. I sent those to you in an email and highlighted the High Springs, and those are the numbers I used. So when you're looking at the changes to the budget, that is the increase. That's not the amount. That is the difference between the last meeting and this meeting. So local option has an additional 44, half-cent sales tax is 19,833, telecommunications is 11,416, and state revenue sharing is 66,769. We reduced, as far as revenues to the general fund, we reduced the transfer as we stated, to get to the 50% for the CRA. We reduced the transfer of 6808. And then, as we discussed before, we increased the facility person to a 1.0, the police officer to a 1.0. We put the PIO position in. The contingency, we increased it by 35,000 and change.
Let me ask you a question real quick before you go. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
as we go through this, do you want her to give the summary of the total and then us ask questions? Or if we have a question on a specific item, do you want to ask then or wait until the summary is completed?
You want to ask them because that way you won't lose your train of thought and
You're saying I'm getting old, huh?
getting.
I got a couple questions
Okay, for which one?
on the PIO position.
Yes, sir.
I would strongly advocate that go under the city manager 100%. I think when you split it up into three, I think it's going to cause who supervises the person, who decides exactly where they go. I would prefer to see it 100% underneath the city man, and then he can dice that person out, and we have one supervisor, one person delegating. Right now, if you got three, I just see it where it would be a cluster. So I would strongly, the money doesn't change. It's just where the money's going. Same
Okay.
amount.
So just, IT actually doesn't have a supervisor, so it would really fall under this. We had categorized it to fall under the city manager, but I understand what you're saying. So however y'all want, as you said, the money doesn't change. I just move it to wherever the department that you all want it. So if we put it under the city manager, if we put all of it under city manager, the transfer to the fire would reduce. That part would reduce to offset, bringing it back to all to the general fund.
Well, I do, again, I just think you're talking about a public information officer. That should have a direct link to the city manager, my opinion, to where he delegates where this person goes. Because if you get a situation to where it's multiple supervisors or multiple people, I mean, who's going to decide how much time he spends at a certain position? And I just think it's not, I mean, there's a couple others that we're going to talk about the same thing. I have issues with splitting people off, but this one here, I think is extremely important. At least it is to me, that we have one person doing it. In my mind, it should be the city manager. So.
Commissioner Jameson.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Right now, he's been falling under me with the pandemic and the emergency management aspect of the fire department with direction from the city manager. His position was currently in the fire department. He's currently a volunteer firefighter. He was currently running the social media aspect in the fire department, is why we were keeping part of him in the fire department so we can handle it with the emergency management side, just to give you some insight.
Well, I fully understand that, Bruce, and I appreciate that. I fully understand that. I'm just looking at a public information officer should come underneath the city manager type of deal, that he can allocate it out to you. But I don't want there to be any question is who's doing the evaluation.
I
You
think
got-
excuse me,
Go ahead, Linda. I'm sorry. I apologize, Linda. Go.
No. I just was thinking that he can go under one supervisor and still his salary is spread out, kind of like IT is supposed to be spread out amongst the departments. Is that what your concern is? I mean, if he's under the city manager, but his salary is in 3 different places, does that cause a problem? I mean,
Well, it does for me on the deal, just as far as who actually delegates it. And maybe it's not an issue. I just think who's going to allot. Jenny wants to say something.
Yes, sir. We have several employees that they are billed to different departments, but they report to one supervisor. This position in the job description, it could say that it reports directly to the city manager, and that would be the official person who he reports to, but he could also be charged to these other departments, and it wouldn't affect who he reports to at all.
We kind of did that with the IT a couple of meetings ago. There was a request that the IT be spread out amongst the departments instead of one lump sum so that we could tell who was paying for what. And that was my thinking.
That's an outside vendor. That's a contractor. That's not an employee. To me, that's a big difference. That's
Okay.
all. To me, that's just a big difference.
Well, I think Jenny said that they have some employees who are already doing that.
Well,
Currently, the fire department splits an employee with Parks and Recs. We both get together and do the eval together, and that's how, for instance, Jamie, our admin assistant's eval's done, and we work together and get it done and turn it in. So that's how her eval's done with sharing positions.
well, we can't make anything here. I'm just saying that's my opinion. We can do it and we get to the board meeting if, if we want to do a consensus or something, that's fine. I just, that's my opinion on it, but that's one person. Thank you.
You all want to do a consensus on that to determine which way you want to go so that I could go ahead and have it ready?
I'm okay with that. Mr. Mayor and Ms. Vice Mayor, hello there.
Hit this.
Gloria, you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there,
Good.
doing the best I can. I'm stuck at home still, but that's okay. But if we want to do a consensus and see which way we want to go, that's fine. For me, I realize it's more difficult when you have more than one person to report to, but as I'm understanding, that does not necessarily have to be the case in order for you to service more than one department. So for me, I can live with it as long as you designate in the position description who the reporting supervisor is going to be. And then as the chief just said, you can get together when it's time to do an eval. I think so.
Mhm.
Well, the other two departments that he would be charged to, where I've worked in the past, is that a person can get 2 or 3 evaluation, it's given to the supervisor, and then the supervisor sits down, and explains the evaluations. I guess we're coming from 2 different areas, I guess. That was quite frequent in engineering.
It was quite frequent in human resources as well.
Okay. I'm standing pat where I'm at because this is what I believe. I appreciate and I respect your guys' opinions. I mean, that's all. I mean, I'm just stating on the deal. And what I would like to do, Mr. Mayor, if we can on this thing here, and let me just shift gear just a second. What I would like to see, and I know that's one person, when we get done here tonight, my thought is when we go to the meeting on the commission meeting,
Mhm.
we shouldn't have to have any discussions about anything.
Right.
They should be done tonight. When we go there, it ought to just be a basic approval or disapproval. So I would hope that we iron out everything here tonight, or even if we got to come back again. But when we go to the commission meeting, I would hope that we've already gone through there. So this would be something that we would, if we can do a consensus and if everybody's on the deal, fine. But this is something we don't want to worry about come commission time. It should be decided.
So basically what y'all was trying to say, who department he gonna be in, who gonna be a supervisor?
That's what it sounds like. Who's going to be
We have,
the person he reports to?
Because my understanding, he gonna work for all the if Jennifer needs something done, he gonna
Mhm.
IT. If
Mhm.
Bruce needs
Mhm.
something done, IT. If Antoine
Right.
needs something done, he's a IT person. And if whomever.
Yeah, the IT side makes sense, but you also got to remember too, the fire department's a special revenue fund. So if we're using it, it's either going to have to come out on that side or it's going to have to come out on another end. The city manager will tell you, I advocated for this position pretty hot and heavy when the pandemic started coming down, when we started dealing with COVID.
Yeah,
Kevin's been with me for 9 years. We have this work relationship. With him being on board, our social media presence has been a lot better. A lot more paying attention to it, if you will. A lot more question and answer sessions. But Kevin and I have a working dialogue together too. And I think that was part of the reason it was left in my department a little bit, is on the emergency management side, I will be utilizing it a lot. So just food for thought there. And it's not uncommon for fire rescue to have a PIO or the police department to have a PIO, to have this position in place.
so you're advocating that the sole person he would report to is you? Bruce?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying this fair share, or the portion, that's what, well, that point, what is it, 125 position coming out of fire is going to be my fair share of use out of them. And I am a special revenue fund, so don't forget that. And that was part of why I think we broke it up the way we did.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. So I guess we need to come to a consensus whether it's going to go under the city manager and the total funds, or the city manager and break up the funds and have all three evaluate, which it's been my experience, that's not an issue, but I know Scott works in HR as well, so I guess it's just a difference of opinion, or how you're used to seeing it. Mr. Mayor, I think,
You know, and it ain't like, I don't know, it ain't like you're gonna have to report to somebody daily. Am I correct, Jenny? HR person?
He would report directly to the city manager, but he would be assigned to work in needed departments where
multiple
it's
places.
needed. Right.
Yeah. You know, and where I'm hearing, he's gonna be working a lot with Bruce. Am I correct, Bruce? You know,
And we work together a lot now. So I'm assuming with him coming in full time, and even with the IT stuff, we'll still continue to work together and continue to do the things we've done. We ran in the fire department, used downtown. I mean, when you get a boil of water notice, those Nixle alerts come from Kevin. So it's not like this is going to be training somebody new. And when these things come out, you know, I'm there and I have to get with Kevin and report it. Right now, currently the way it is, I don't have to route it through the city manager. If we don't have any, if he's not assigned to the fire department in any which way, shape, or form under EM, I would route it through chain of command, which would go to the city manager, so forth and so on.
so can you tell me exactly what it is you're saying, Bruce? How you think the position ought to be, as far as who they report to and how the money is divvied up?
He can report directly to the city manager, and that was what was decided in the meeting. He's going to go straight to the city manager. Just a portion of the funding is going to come out of the fire department,
Right.
out of the position, because of the amount of stuff I use him for with the emergency management notifications, vehicle accidents, things along those lines. And we just felt it was a fair share to come out of.
Okay. Very good.
is he gonna be? Go, yes, sir.
What would happen is he still has autonomy to work as he's working now, to be utilized throughout the city for multiple purposes. However, that will leave the city manager the ability to delegate when he's needed, and it's something that, you know, at the end of the day, he's going to report to me and the other department heads as well, whoever's in this seat. And I think it would help him a little bit better to do his job, because if he reports to one person, also having the ability to use his talents throughout the city is not going to minimize the fact of who he reports to. It's still going to allow him to do what he's already doing. If that makes sense.
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, Mr. Mayor, he just want to make sure he get paid.
Yeah, that's what I think too. You know, I know part, but some of it's money be coming from you, from the city manager, right? And others from
IT.
IT,
Mhm.
Fire.
fire.
And then fire department.
hmm So he gonna have to report to the city manager. He designate if whoever
What
he needs
he's
to do
gonna
that
go
day,
for
what
the
he
day.
need to work on that day.
Mhm.
I don't see any problems.
Sounds feasible to me.
Yeah.
So my hearing lead as is.
I'm waiting for Mr. Mayor to,
Yes,
if we have a
Well, we-
consensus or
we-
not.
we can't vote on him. We can be.
No, we're having a consensus on it, is what we're
There is no
doing.
vote.
So that
no vote.
Jennifer knows how to,
If I need to change it or not. If y'all are happy the way it is, then we'll,
Well, I'm happy the way it is.
that's reporting to the
So-
city manager and having his salary divvied in 3 different places. Correct, Jennifer?
yes,
Okay,
that's what I'm understanding.
Who ultimately decides what his job duties are and how they're divided up? We have a push-pull. I need the person in this one. Who decides?
City manager.
City
manager.
manager.
Well, okay.
but hasn't it been working for some months now? I mean, has there been any
He was
issue?
a contractor. He was a contractor. He wasn't an
Okay.
employee.
And he'll actually be doing more stuff.
No, we're good. You're good. If it's 31, that's fine. No. I respect everybody's opinion on this. I have no issues. We're good. We don't need to belabor on it. We're good. He'll do a great job. I hope he understands this is nothing on the job. This is just.
It's
strictly
the
for me.
position that you're talking about, not Kevin.
Not at all. I have absolutely,
Right.
I know Bruce is extremely good. I have no issue with the job and the performance he's going to do. Mine
Right.
is just fully a procedural thing that I believe in. So I'm good.
Okay,
All right.
Okay.
So just
So-
move on.
Where's the contingency coming from? What's that 35,395? What's that?
Okay, so at the last meeting, it was, the contingency was about $4,000. So we're adding about 35 to get it to the new amount of 40,128.
Where's that at?
On the new budget,
Where?
first page, page number 1. Highlighted in, it should be highlighted.
Contingency for a total
Mine
of
says-
40,000.
Pardon?
I see contingency fund for a total of 40,000.
Yes, ma'am, that's it.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay,
So it
so I
was-
got it. I was given a budget yesterday and I'm showing $71,000 in contingency.
That was, you
General fund contingency, mine's showing 71,436.
so that was before our department head meeting. And that was before we put back some of the things that we had taken out.
Okay.
We
I
had
got
met-
it.
If you, city manager had us all meet and it was our last chance to,
And was that today, Jennifer?
that meeting was yesterday. And then I believe that the city
Okay.
clerk had already sent out the,
And I'd gotten it Tuesday. Okay, we're good.
okay. So then, with that, we removed the IT contractual services that, we felt that Kevin and myself and Angela and Eric met, and, Eric felt that that was a very good number, that, they could work well and help save that, that much of the money. Now, one of the things that we did have to do is the maintenance agreements, which are all the things they do to our computers. And we have, well, first of all the laptops that we added this year. I want to say there's 5 commissioners. There's probably, just 8 or 10. So it's just maintaining them. So that's part of why that was raised. Then we put back, if you remember, we took out some of the training of different departments. So we put back the training in finance, the training in PD, the training in HR, the training in the city clerk. And so that as far as the general fund, that's the trainings that we put back in. The other piece that we did add was we put it under Parks and Rec facilities, because this is where utilities, this is where we charge all the parks to, but the farmer's market pavilion, we will be able to rent it out. I did find out that today. So, but not only that, we're going to have utility costs. So I put we put some money in for that. The other one is the Parks and Rec vehicle. Back before COVID, Damon was, he was set to get a vehicle. And then literally days later, COVID hit and, we stopped spending. We didn't get it this year. He doesn't see it. Didn't see the need to go ahead and get it this year. So we went ahead and rebudgeted it for next year. But, we're really hoping in the spring that we have a season. And he, right now he's using his vehicle, or he's kind of been using different people with not having the building official. He's used that one a little bit. David was on vacation. He used that vehicle for a little bit. He really needs a vehicle. He feels like he can get one for $20,000. So we also have the old fire truck that will be declared surplus. Jenny, is that the 10th?
Yes.
The 10th. So we'll declare that surplus, and then he will use that either for trade-in or to sell it, and he will use that money also towards the vehicle. And then we increase the transfer back to the fire. Part of that is Kevin, and part of that is they're putting back their travel. And then the restricted cash, that is different than contingency. That is the transfer to that restricted account, and it is in there. So any questions on that first page of the changes?
And let me ask you a question. I'm assuming it's because I'm looking at Tuesdays and not Wednesdays, because the numbers aren't the same when you go up 4,000 and 6,000 with the one I was looking on Tuesday. So I'm assuming they're reflective in the one that was done on Wednesday. And I apologize, I don't have that one. I've got Tuesdays. I mean, when I look at the training, they're just not, they don't jive. But I'm assuming the Tuesday one is different than the one that you got on Wednesday, and I'm looking at Tuesdays.
It is, you were sharing, you want to show yours where yours was back in?
She's breaking up real bad. Jennifer, you're breaking up really bad.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
If we could maybe Angela just right where we put it back into yours and the in HR and in the city clerk's budget.
What was the question?
Is it showing in your budgets the additional money? Is it back in there?
Yes, yes, they're there.
So the police department, mine shows 6 and 6. So what is the police department's current training with the new budget?
Well,
Kevin, can you put it up on the screen, the new one?
You have, that's the right one. You have, it's 6,000 in police. We had cut it down to
So what's PD travel?
that 4,000.
Yes.
We put that back in. We had cut it to 2. We cut it down and we put 4,000 back in. So now it's back to 6.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I'm gonna make the same statement on this one here. I was somewhat surprised on the utilities thing is why isn't the farmer's market utilities there so we know what we're using as opposed to and have a line item for that.
Right, it can be either way. Right now, we put all of the utilities in Parks and Rec. It can go in the farmer's market if that makes it easier for you. It's an easy fix. So that's whatever y'all decide.
Well, how much did you put in the budget for?
I put 10,000.
How much for the farmer's market by itself?
10,000.
Okay, so I'm looking at this deal. There again, I would prefer to have it because I'd like to know where the money's being spent. And if we're spending, we won't know exactly what we're spending on the farmer's market on a utility basis. If it's all merged in together, that's a separate entity by itself. I would prefer to know when you get a monthly type of deal, this is how much money, this is what it's costing. So when we do the budget the following year, we know how to do it. So.
Can
I
I get a
agree.
consent?
I agree.
Okay, so that's the consensus. So, okay, I will make that change.
Okay.
Okay, and that, as of right now, that is the only change.
I want to make sure everybody's okay with there. Again, I'm reading off a day-old deal. I want to make sure all the training that people had requested is back in, because obviously my Tuesday budget is dated.
You should have the new one in your email if you want to check it.
Why can't I can't?
Oh, okay.
It came across strange for me. I don't know why. It was very tiny and it had a lot of titles at the top. So this is harder to do virtually than in person. It really is.
It most definitely is.
No,
That's why I called and asked for a hard copy.
So I
Well,
just want to go ahead, Linda. Well, I was
No,
just
no,
going
no,
to, I
no.
just want to make sure that the training we talked about the people, it was put back in. I don't want somebody coming at the board at the next commission meeting and saying, or calling and saying, I didn't get what we had agreed to. So if we're telling me that the individuals got the training that they desired and we had talked about, I don't need to see it on here. If you're telling me that's, nobody's going to come up and say, I didn't get it.
the two biggest ones were Petey and actually Jenny and Bruce and Antoine were the three biggest. And I think you guys will say that I gave it all back to you.
Yes, mine's fine.
Yeah, and I think you put Rodney's on back in there.
Yes,
That's
I
on the
actually
next
upped
page.
his. I actually upped his.
That's on the next page.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Are we ready to move to the next page?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first one is the engineering for the new well. We put that in there. We got a price from Rural Water. And then Rodney leaving his PTO. And then we took that money from contingency, so it netted to zero. So that's the water fund.
Now, we're going to have to, and I appreciate that the 9750 is in there for the engineering on the water. But we're going to have to approve this.
Yes,
This
sir.
is going to be on, I'm just saying, this is, if everybody's got the Florida water thing for the well, I appreciate it's in there. So if it's approved, we got the money. We don't have to worry about shifting it around. When is that going on is that on the next commission meeting for us to review this contract with Florida Rural Water and approve it, or?
I
what's the
don't have
process?
it.
What?
I never received it, so it's not on the agenda.
Well, I mean, we're approving money for the engineering. I would think we would want to approve the contract with the company that we're doing it with.
We could put it on the 21st, and that way it's the final reading and approving it finally on the 21st, and then we can adopt theirs.
Okay, and you'll sequence that in there, Jenny, to where we approve this prior to doing, to where it's actually we're giving approval before the money's You know what I'm saying? In a sequential type of deal, so we're not doing one before we do the other.
You approve the money first, then the contract.
Okay. That seems odd to me. It seems like you would want to approve the contract. We're actually going to work with them and then we do the money. But whatever you're the expert. I'll go with it.
That's my opinion. I mean, that's up to the commission if they want it.
No.
We can't do a contract without the money, right?
That's what I thought. You have to have the money first, or because it's not budgeted,
10-4.
and you approve it.
All right, so moving to the sewer, we put in, Rodney asked for, actually he asked for 500 and then he came back and asked for another 500. So we just moved some money around so it nets to 0. The fire fund, it was next and we increased the transfer. There's the PIO position and then there is his training put back in.
If we may, this is not on the list, but I'd like to ask the question, and maybe Mr. Corsi can, and the water fund under the staffing. We don't have an operator position under there. We have one underneath the sewer. We don't have one here. And I think we ought to, I think we need to put it in there because it takes a completely different certification. And I know that we're trying to get a public works man who's got it. Right now, we're paying a contractor 2 days to come out on the sewer. Excuse me, I'm getting water and sewer. I apologize. On the sewer, bear with me. On the sewer, I think it would be our benefit to have somebody on staff 5 days a week because we're going to have a capacity issue here, like now. And I think going forward, we're going to need somebody on deck because this person, is my understanding, only comes out 2 days a week. So, okay, it's got there. So it would be the water. Thank you, Ron. I'm getting the two of them messed up. So same thing within the water then, and I apologize. We do have the one, but I would also want it on the operator within the water for the same issue. Because that's what Rodney is a operator. What is his current position? Rodney's in the water fund.
He's a public works supervisor or superintendent.
Okay.
And
like to
water
have-
plant operator.
Yeah, and the operator, right.
Okay. I'd like to see the operator's position in there separate. I think a superintendent, I don't necessarily agree with that. But that's my opinion there.
Dude, is it possible to find a person that has both certifications?
It's
Mine-
possible,
mine's-
but rare.
Virtually impossible is what I understand, Linda, from
It'll
talking.
be difficult.
Right, but yeah, I agree.
I'm talking two separate people. One's got an operator in water, one's got an operator in sewer.
Right,
Type of thing is what I'm saying. At least post it, at least put it in the budget. So it's there. So if we have to hire, if we get to that point, like I said, right now we have a contractor. He comes 2 days a week on this stuff. So if we could just list that in there. The other question I have is,
But can I get some clarification? Wait a minute. On the water side, you want me to add with just a 0 because we don't have it currently.
an operator.
A water C operator. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm not
Is that
sure if the C is the same, if the certification is the same, how that works.
right? It's a C.
But I would like to have a water operator, the same type of deal. So at some point, we're going to need somebody, I think, full-time because there again, we're not far away. I just like to have it in there so if we need to hire it, we don't have to go through the process.
You want to have what in there, Scott?
What's that?
What you want to have in it?
I just like to have where it says superintendent, you can leave the superintendent in there. I would just like to have in the water, just put in an operator's position like we have in the sewer fund. The sewer fund, you can see there it says wastewater C operator. I'd like to have the same thing, water operator. I don't know what the C, maybe we could get with Rodney or them and find out if there's a specific. I just think at some point in time in the not too distant future, we're going to need a person daily overseeing these things. And I would just like to be able to have 2 individuals if need be. We may never fill it, but I just sort of think where we're at on the sewer and where we're at on the water, we're looking to build another well. But so let's make sure, we got somebody, that's all. I just want to make sure that we may not fill the position, but I'd like it there because finding dual certifications, Mr. Mayor, is extremely difficult, is what I'm told.
Yeah.
And so I just like to have the option that if we get to that point, we already have a position there, we can expedite the hiring process if need be. That's all.
Yes, sir. Gotcha.
Jennifer, is there anybody there who can explain to me how we come up with the numbers for grinder repair and maintenance, grinder pumps, and operating supplies, new grinder stations? How do we come up with the dollar amounts for those?
Well, if you remember last year, we almost doubled those. If you remember, we had the whole discussion on the repairs and all of that. And Mr. Booth had me, this was kind of came from Mr. Booth, who has a little bit more expertise, a lot more than I do. But I don't know if you remember that we talked about increasing it because I think it was like at 50, we bumped them both to 75.
Well, here's my point, and I agree with it. It was, but that's an arbitrary decision. What I'd like to see us do for both of those. And so when we're talking about operating new grinder stations, those are ones that are replacing ones that we're getting rid of, right? Not the ones that are going in new subdivisions or anything like this. The new grinder stations is when we take one and we stick it in. Mr. Jameson's grinder pump's old, we bring a new one in.
Correct.
Okay. What I would suggest, I don't think this can be an arbitrary decision. Hey, you know what? I think we need to bump it up. What I'd like to see, me personally, is I'd like to see a 5-year average, a rolling 5-year average of the number of dew pumps installed. So you could sit here and say, okay, let's go back 5 years. How many new pumps went in to replace broken ones, for lack of a better term? 10. All right, last year, 9. Take the average, a 5-year rolling average. Then you know how many, and then what is the cost? And if the cost is $2,500 or $3,000, then you could sit there and you could factor in dollar amounts on what it's going to cost to get this, and it's not a hit and miss type of deal. And it's probably going to be more if you got 75. I just think then we have a basis on which to make a decision on what goes in that line item, and we've got it. And I would say the same thing where it says repair and maintenance for grinder pumps. Give me a 5-year rolling average. What do we spend on a yearly average to repair the installed pumps? And then you got a dollar, you got a historical dollar amount to do that.
So, and I can do that. If you, I can tell you why we went up. If you remember, a lot of the grinder pumps got to their age. They're basically, they were out of warranty, all that stuff, remember? And so.
I'm not questioning the fact that we raised them. What I'm questioning the fact is that we would have a database driven reason for the dollar amounts we choose to put in there.
I know,
5 years, that's all I'm saying. So we would
right,
have a basis.
I'll have to get that from Public Works.
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
I'll get it from David before he leaves.
I'm just thinking for us to make a decision when we look at the budget, if you sit there and over the last 5 years, this is how many, and folks, it's going to keep going. And the only reason I'm talking about this and everything else, this is with us forever. I mean, we can think whatever we want on this. This is for perpetuity. We're going to be replacing grinder pumps from now until the end of time. We need to have something in place that we can realistically sit there and say, we need to have, how many do we need to have on? I think it's 5. I mean, but they should tell you, how many do we have to have in storage? What's the deal? Do we need 5? Do we need 10 to do it? And then we can base our purchase on it. And we're not going to all of a sudden go, oh, geez, we didn't have enough or so forth. I'm just trying to think of a systematic way, because the repair of the grinder pumps, along with the purchase of new ones to go in to replace them, is not going away. It's perpetuity. And I think we need a process by which to determine the number and the dollar amount, rather than an arbitrary, well, let's add in $20,000 on it. That's all. If you could get that, that's something we could look at next year. This year it's already in, but something we could look at to see. I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I had a conversation with Rodney today, and he kind of got that in place. What he has done is got with JC. They've come up with a system where you have the repair parts in place and on the shelf. And he was saying what happens is when they replace the new grinder pumps, it's a 5-year warranty. So for 5 years, we don't have to touch those pumps. They're under warranty, so they don't have to be replaced or repaired, and they're covered. So just talking to him, he said now there's something in place, exactly what Commissioner Jamerson is talking about, to give us a general idea of those pumps in the ground. Again, we're going to have to account for those. But he said for 5 years, once we replace those, and to have, he had a system where when he had to repair one, he would always try to keep at least 5. So therefore, if something happens, he will be able to have a sustainable system to replace, so the citizens' service won't be interrupted or cause problems for them. So he's working on that. He has it. Rodney said that we're in a better place now than previously.
Okay.
Okay. We're moving on, Jennifer.
Okay, I mean, other than that, those are the changes. From what I'm understanding, for the final one that will be sent out on Monday, the only thing that I would be doing was I'm going to move the $10,000 for utilities to the farmer's market. And I am going to, under the personnel for the water fund, I'm going to get the exact license from Jenny has it, I think, I'm sure. And we'll put that, we'll put that position in with a 0, no FTE, but it'll be in as a position, but we just don't have it. Am I missing anything else?
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't have anything.
That's it.
Mr. Jameson, you have anything?
I'm looking, because there again, I apologize sincerely, because I had the day late on the deal.
It's hard. It's hard to keep up with them.
Well, I
And
can't access them at work or anything. So part of my problem is if I don't get them, and I messed up. If I don't get them ahead of time, then I can't use them. Joel, let me ask you a question. And this is in the Roads and Streets Division. You got a Public Works Director and you got a foreman. And we're gonna hire a Public Works Director now, right?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's the plan.
And we're gonna have the Public Works Director have which license? We're gonna put in the deal, which license is we're gonna ask that they have?
That's correct.
Which one, the water or or sewer? The sewer or water?
I think water is one more preferred. But again, like you say, it's a rarity to find both. And the money that we're offering is gonna be virtually impossible to hire somebody, attract somebody, unless they just want to come and help us out.
Well, Rodney has his, he's in the water, and Rodney has, and we use a contractor 2 days a week in the sewer. So I would think we would want to have him, and I think Rodney's trying to work on it. I just want us to look ahead to make sure we don't get in a jam. And we're sitting out there and we don't have it. That's all. I mean, I'm just, and I don't know if we're going to get a public works guy that has the certificates. You know, if we don't, well, then we stay status quo. The contractor guy does the 2 days a week on the sewer. Rodney does the water.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
we also have an employee who is studying to take the exam to obtain his water license.
Correct. Yes, and I understand. Thanks, Jenny. I understand because Rodney's going to be going, and so we're hoping this person is going to be able to fill in. I agreed. I still think we need to look at the sewer aspect of it because that's going to be a huge issue in the immediate future, and we're going to need to have somebody. So if we could just keep that in mind as we move forward, I would appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, we have a meeting with Mid-Towers next week, and we have a better understanding of our status and where we are, and that would help assist us in trying to attract somebody in the sewer area to come and we'll see where we're at.
Anything else, Mr. Jameson? Are you still looking?
I think I'm good. Okay. And I
So we can
appreciate.
come by, excuse me.
Go ahead, Linda.
So we can come by Monday, say afternoon, and pick up the most current, Tuesday. Because you're closed, it's a holiday.
Right.
Thank you, Jenny. So we can come Tuesday afternoon, maybe, Jennifer?
Absolutely. I'll have it first thing Tuesday morning.
Okay. Sounds good.
I can't speak for Kevin, but I think he can pull up the current budget, Kevin. If y'all have a question about something, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Kevin?
Mr. Mayor, if there's a particular page somebody would like to look at, I'd be happy to put it on the screen. Just tell me which page or which department.
Which department?
Let me ask a question. Page 2, general fund revenues. Franchise fees.
Yes, sir.
Do we have anything? Where are we as far as with GRU on any franchise fees? I don't see any here. We're not getting any franchise fees on GRU?
Not from electric. We get them for, they don't have anything electric. We get from gas, and we get some from telecommunications. That goes through the state.
So is it a franchise fee or is it just a?
Utility
Utility
tax.
tax. Thank you,
Okay.
Jenny.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I was thinking it was a franchise type deal. So I just wanted to clarify for me.
If they actually sold electricity in High Springs, then it would be a franchise fee.
Okay, and that's fine. That's for my own clarification. I wanted to make sure I saw it. I knew we had GRU. I didn't see it spelled out directly as GRU. So that's I just, for my own clarification, I wanted to know that. What percent of the revenues do we normally budget at, Jennifer, that we're going to get? What percent of the funds do we budget at? 90%, 80%? Of the state.
Ad valorem, we budget at 95%. The rest of them, we probably 95 to 100.
Okay,
Certain
No-
ones, we almost, they're growing every year, so if we kind of go based it on actuals. So, for example, the franchise, we usually base it on actuals, but then every year it goes up.
well, the ones that you highlighted, for example, and I'm there again, this is just for my own edification when I get here. So the local option gas tax was 216, now it's 260, and the 260 is at 100%.
No, it was 285.
Yeah.
The one I got back on Tuesday was at 216.
Kevin's got it
budget.
up on the screen.
No,
Proposed budget.
yeah, it was 216, but it went to 260 based on the projections.
Okay, what I'm saying, all I'm asking is when the 216 went in there, that was on at about 80%. And I understand it because I asked you to be very conservative. The numbers that are in there now are at 100% what the state is basically saying we're going to receive.
Correct.
Okay, I'm just trying to get here because the half-cent sales tax, we had 325, then it went to 344. So the $135,000 that increased on the revenue was us simply increasing our percentage, what we figured we were going to get. We were playing safe. Don't get me wrong.
And when the first numbers that came out, we had not gotten the projections.
Okay.
The projections didn't come out until the first part of August.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. I'm just trying to make sure I understand it. When I look at the numbers, I know what I'm talking about. So thank you. I'm good, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else?
I'm good.
Good, Ms.
Okay.
You okay?
Mhm.
All right. Mr. City Manager, you good?
He's muted.
Okay, I got thumbs up. We got thumbs up. Okay, Jennifer, good.
I'm good. I don't know if anybody, it looks like somebody out there has a question.
Yeah.
Bring him up, Kevin.
Mr. Mayor, in the chat, Mr. Ambrose states GRU is selling gas. They have a gas franchise agreement. How come they don't have to pay a fee for use of the right of ways, just like electric?
Jennifer?
I do not know that there is a franchise. We do not have a franchise agreement with them.
So
We have an agreement with them. I can research it and pull it up and see what it says.
Yeah, it's an
Is it
agreement.
the franchise, Jenny, or the utility tax?
I think I'm not sure. It's just an agreement with GRU so they could run the lines and everything.
Yeah,
And I believe I want to say they were supposed to pay us 6%.
But that's the utility tax.
Utility, yeah, it could be. I'll have to look at it and see.
Yeah, I can't remember. 'Cause I don't think the first that line run is out there to
Oak Ridge and
Oak Ridge. That's first that go.
Sure.
It don't come into High Springs. I mean, come in all the way into the.
Yes, it does. It goes all the way to Weston Oaks, all the way behind the community school. It runs to the community school, and I believe they now have an option in Bailey Estates for it, but the subdivision behind the school also has an option.
But it's just run the Oak Ridge into the school. Am I correct?
Weston Oaks as well has it, and I think that in Peyton's Preserve has it.
Who's that?
Weston Oaks
I know Western Oaks. Okay.
and Peyton's Preserve, I believe, has it, and then the subdivision behind the school, not Bailey Estates, but the one right there off of 2 has the option for it.
They had the option for it, but it's not.
I don't know if anybody hooked up in there
I
for
did.
it.
Okay, I didn't think so. I think the school is.
The school is correct. They pulled all their tanks out and went to natural gas.
We will,
No, I was gonna say, it'd be nice to get the actual agreement and see, because if we're running lines and so forth, I mean, and they're making money off the ability to run their lines along our, and so forth, what is the difference with the other ones? We need to look at the agreement and see what's going on.
I will send it out tonight
Thank
on
you.
the agreement.
Would you send it, make sure the attorney gets it? Because I'd like him to actually be looking at it too, Jenny, please.
Yes, I will.
Anyone else got a question? I see another chat there too.
Yeah.
Big three.
Mr. Mayor, it was Mr. Ambrose saying that it is a franchise agreement. He got a copy through a public record request, and he thanked you for your time.
And is that it?
If it's a franchise agreement, can we put something discussion at the next meeting, or at least have the attorneys give us an update on the franchise agreement, Jenny, something like that, to where they, at least if nothing else, they could at least start a dialogue with us and tell us what we have or something?
Yes.
And ask for also who he got the agreement from. Who he say got the agreement from?
Public records request.
From us.
Through us?
I don't know.
I don't know. I remember, but I can't remember the details.
But if they could just do that during attorney's comments or something, Jenny, and basically, and then if we wanted to set something up in an agenda item later, we could do an item based off of what they're telling us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I was just informed that they have gas to the Great Outdoors as well from GRU. Just to kind of give you an insight.
The Great Outdoors doing what, Bruce? I wouldn't understand you.
Sorry about that. I was just informed that the Great Outdoors has gas from GRU that's being run to them currently as well. Along with Plantation Oak. So they're starting to sprout up all over town.
Yeah, I wonder where all that. My understanding, it just went to Western Oaks and to back in the day when they first did this, and it was going to the school.
I think it's important that we, and Jenny, I appreciate you doing this, that we get this, whatever the agreement is, to the attorneys like you're gonna do and figure it out, because they're making some pretty good money off of us right now, using our access, and they're making pretty good money, and we're not getting a dime.
Yeah.
and I will double check what, when we get GRU money, I don't know if we probably still have the checks, just to make sure that none of that is franchise free.
Okay.
Because they may have combined them, and we may be getting something. But I will got myself a note to check on that.
Agreed. They may have just put it all into one deal, Jennifer, and didn't separate it out, but we need to know that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I agree. Anything else? If all minds are clear, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, meeting adjourned. Be
Thanks,
safe.
Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Be safe.